Hello, everybody. It's grand finals time here in the Auriel Stormgate Invitational #1. We saw Mixu play an awesome series against Theory in the semifinals. We saw Snoxtar do something similarly very cool against Auriel, and now that means that our grand finals is set. Of course, in the bottom right, we mentioned his name for Aftermath. His name is Snoxtar, and in the upper left, he's the Vanguard player. It's Mixu, and we start, as in all things, and certainly I'm happy here, we start on Ruination. It's the new map. It is a map that is, we talked about it in the Auriel series, but it's a map that has not maybe all the things that I would like to see into modern Stormgate map design, but some of them. Right, going and having this high ground position, this centralizing position of action, some bases that are maybe, reasonably easy to take second base, that does have this pocket health cam that just kind of gives you that economic injection if you want it, and then maybe less defensible third bases, less defensible fourth bases, with some interesting ideas, certainly, to be sure. But for now, we're getting into this thing, right? Snoxtar Mixu Grand Finals. This is what we've been looking for. It's a $700-ish tournament, all told. And Mixu, in game #1, he's going to be doing this thing that he's been doing for quite a while, where you go and you get a couple scouts, you get this buzzsaw turret, you repair Matic up the scouts, and eventually you run. Okay, I was going to say, I thought you were going to run a Lancer over to go take this, but turns out, apparently, that the optimal play that Mixu is showing us here today, which is new, by the way, not something that I've seen, is instead of going for the buzzsaw turret and getting the splash damage going with the Lancers and the buzzsaws going all over the place, turns out it's getting like 5 scouts and just having this repair-o-matic. Because remember, scouts do 10 damage versus these creeps, 13 damage versus light creeps. So, of course, the bruise is heavy. You don't quite get that advantage there, but still they do 10 damage a shot. 80 attacks divided by 5 is what, 16 attacks or so. It's not that bad, and especially when things are getting repaired up, you are totally fine. And behind this, there the Lancers are going to arrive. There's going to be a second sentry post on the second Luminite base. This one probably turns into a Lancer. I think you probably want that to actually defend your position, because these fiends are going to arrive, and that's going to be annoying. And well, the sentry post does want to get up, but actually it's going to get a cancel force here, which is very cool. Nice small little move. Mixu is going to get slowed down in his creeping quite significantly by these 3 fiends that it's the product of what, of the Hexen, of a couple Gaunts getting stuff done. Remember, this was a shrine first. This was a build where Snoxtar said he was going to be a little bit greedy, and he's really he's having his eggs and he's eating them too, or he's having his cake, there we go, and eating it too. But for now, central command is done, so we can repair the Bob, and it's gonna be okay. One Bob seems like it may go down. Yeah, that will. So that's gonna force these units off the line. That's not great. More Bobs are gonna get pulled over, and this should be fine now. But that's really a lot of this overcharge being lost. That's a reasonable amount of production time. And granted, we're looking at an 85-90% complete command post, so not the end of the world. Meanwhile, of course, there is this repair-matic on the high ground. The scouts and the Lancer will eventually take this thing down, and this is what's fun. One thing I really appreciate about Ruination that I think is really cool is that it plays with verticality a lot more than a lot of other maps. I mean, look at this repair-matic on the high ground onto the low ground. You eventually take the Shadow Demon, and that's a reasonable economic injection in this early game. And of course, Mixu's natural is later, but he's okay with that, right? Because not only is he taking the double camps in the middle, not only is that true, he's also, well, he can just build things a lot faster. So natural is done for Snoxtar. He's got a spire on the way, but certainly greater shrines done. He's got a ritual chamber done. Do we have plague axes? They're halfway done. Getting everything that he really could possibly want. Short of a third base, I think Infernal versus Vanguard right now is very much one of those matchups where you, at the very least, want to be ahead. Well, not at the very least. I think you want to be ahead of your opponent economically, and in many portions of the game, just because, well, the Vanguard units, they trade better, so you're not going to trade as well. You need more stuff, is kind of how that theoretically works. But Instead, Snoxtar, he's going for a bit of a drop. So 8 Gaunts, of course, is the number that fits into this Harbinger. We're going to see the Vision Camp on the bottom side get taken down, really for the money. This Vision Camp, yes, technically it guards this pathway, but I have not seen a single bit of harass going through these, because you really need, in the case of the Vanguard, you really need either some Bobs deputized or like an Atlas. You don't have a... Is there anything else from the Vanguard side that cuts trees? I don't think so. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but you really do need... the trees need to get cut down, or there needs to be a drop, and if it's a drop, it can come from any angle, not just the bottom, so it really is whatever. For now, though, this attack is forcing the Harbinger drop to stay at home for the most part, at least until Snoxtar goes and gets a Weaver out. He's got a couple now, so likely this is not going to get a ton done, but what this is doing is, well, I was going to say theoretically, denying a third base. Mixu's got his done. He's mining off of it. What do we got? Hedgehogs on the way. Just continuing this macro power. And what is his tech looking like? Vulcan's getting added in, which, you know, that Vulcan popping out is rather timely, because this attack's going to arrive in earnest. And remember, Plague Axes are done. Reaper Rush is not, but there is Free Shroud here because of the Harbinger. So this entire Luminite line is in heavy struggles. Now, to be totally fair here, it's a Vulcan. Vulcans shred Gaunts. So this is going to be really minimal harass, all things considered. It got like, oh, what was that? 3 Bobs or something, maybe. Not a ton, but it is forcing things back. And by the way, you know, Vision Camp in the middle is going to get taken down as well. That is it's a minor problem. It's just a little bit annoying, but it does mean that really Mixu doesn't have the vision that he would like to have. So for now, the Vulcan doing what it can just to play as defensively as possible. Harbinger drop being rather annoying, all things considered. And, well, we do have transonic rockets on the way. We have Hedgehogs that are roughly set up to defend, but it's not a ton of them. And there's really not a lot of static defense. All things considered, it's, you know, we got some scouts. They're doing what they can. We got Lancers, but the Gaunts are going to show up on the high ground. And do they have the range for this? Yeah, they do. Which is a problem. This is why this third base was designed to be a little bit difficult to take, and we're seeing just how difficult it is to take, all things considered. So Mixu's trapped back at home. He's not able to play the game he wants to play. Sentry Post now getting forced to get dropped down here, and I think he's just realized how difficult of a position this is without a Sentry Post. Just not really easy. But the drop's going to arrive. Once again, Sentry Post is barely going to be done in time. Now should be, yeah, overcharge is going to be here. And Sentry Post, well, it's a repair turret, and that means that the units aren't going to die. But luckily, a Graven will arrive. And now that we are solidly on 3 bases, we have Graven out. We have the tech that Mixu would like to find starting to really pop up into the mix. More Hedgehogs just for this really defensive acumen more than anything else. Life is a little bit less problematic. One would assume Mass Repair is doing a nice job as well. And Mixu, I gotta say, I'm a little surprised that he's not dealing with this attack in the main base. Yeah, he's got a Graven, and they do 2-shot pretty much everything. And maybe it is enough. But it does feel just a wee bit scary. So for now, what do we got? 5 Weavers on the map. And yeah, this army, you know, Hedgehogs against Weavers, Vulcans against Weavers, not a great solution. But if you can bubble up the Vulcan, it's going to eat a lot of Weaver energy before going down. And meanwhile, the Weavers, they're just getting targeted down by these Hedgehogs. Remember, Hedgehogs don't do bonus damage, but they have the range that matters. And now Shroudfall is going to go down on top of everything. More Weavers, well, they're just barely going to survive just long enough to get some more lashes done. Hedgehogs now into the fray. Got a kite that was away, and now Spriggans are getting added. That anti-air, or that air power, that suddenly there's not really a lot of anti-air to defend. The Graven, not really where they need to be. And this is just a Mixu that has to retreat back home. This exchange lasted just long enough that Spriggans were able to join the fray. And Snoxtar has not been building a lot of things with his Therium. Let's be very clear about this. 6-6, and what is that? Yes. 18 workers on Therium, and he's not been spending the majority of it, which means that he's got 1,400 Therium in the bank to do whatever tech swap it is that he feels like he needs to do. In this case, well, it's going to be for those Spriggans as they continue to arrive. Mixu just has to tap out. That is going to be game number 1, all on the tech switch. Mixu is or excuse me, Snoxtar is so good at hitting these Spriggan timings and just wiping the floor with his opponent. That being said, game one will go to Snoxtar. From a new big map to an old small map, that's where we're gonna go here. Titan's Causeway is gonna be our second map in this best of 7 grand finals. Reminder, Snoxtar, he goes up 1, and I think the thing that I'm learning from Snoxtar, because one thing I really appreciate in having access to these replays in running Stormgate Sundays, although I've been gone, I haven't been able to run Stormgate Sundays for the last couple weeks, and it's gonna be a moment, unfortunately, because we got tank finals this coming Sunday, and then I'm out of town for the next 3 weekends. So I'm gonna do what I can. It's gonna be a struggle. I'm gonna do my best. We'll see if I can wrestle anything up, but you know, that's what's gonna be happening for the next 3 weeks. But anyways, point being, one thing that always has me kind of excited when we take a look at these when we're looking at these replays is that you get to learn things. Or you get to learn things from these top players, and one thing that Snoxtar is teaching me about how to play Infernals is the power, and we know this, right? Muta switches in StarCraft 2 for the longest time were a scary thing. Less so now for the most part, because by the time you would look to do something like that, generally the counters are out. Not always true. You can go mutas and you can go muta switches against Protoss, but again, because the tech accelerates so quickly now in Legacy of the Void, not quite as much of a thing. But in this game where tech does not accelerate as quickly, and we're also missing units, I think that is very fair to say. We do not have the full, we just don't have the full complement of tier 2 and tier 3 units for any faction, which means that if there are units that only have, say, 1 counter that are gated by tech, like Spriggans are best handled by Hornets. Hornets require a hangar bay. Mixu does not like to go for hangar bays for the most part, because he doesn't like to go, and he does not like really to build helicarriers. The way he plays this game is much more active, with Graven, with some mech units, and kind of going the way we saw him play in game 1, the way we saw him play against Theory in the VOD that I uploaded on, I want to say it was Wednesday. And that's how we see him play, right? That's his preferred style, which is very cool, certainly, but very abusable to things like Spriggans if you don't have enough hedgehogs. And what Snoxtar is doing here is he's waiting for the majority of the anti-air to die, and then building like 6 Spriggans. And 6 Spriggans are not a ton of stuff, all things considered, but it's enough. It is, it's expensive. It's 300 Therium, but if you're Snoxtar and you're just not spending your Therium for the most part, you're just buying only a couple tech units, and the rest are being, rest of your money is being invested into things that don't cost a lot of Therium, you have the money for that. So that was very cool from Snoxtar in game 1. We saw him do it to Auriel as well. That's not going to help him in this game, though, because this is Mixu going for kind of a 1 base, 1 racks. I'm not going to say all in, because it is still only on the 1 racks, but certainly a 1 base, 1 rack timing. Command post just about turning into Central Command, which means we're going to be able to go and we're going to be able to promote some of these Lancers. We're going to be able to bubble some of them if that's a problem. And the goal here is ideally to run roughshod through the Luminite lines. Not the easiest thing to do, certainly with a bunch of yeah, I love this move. The imps are just gonna find all the overturned bobs on the other side, and remember, you get 25 armor. Here we see that. Yeah, you get 25 armor from overcharge, not 50, so it's about 1/125, or 100 over 125 in terms of effective HP instead of 100 over 150. So you just get a lot more. You get, well, I shouldn't say you get a lot more. Your effective HP has gone down by quite a bit. And by the way, in the middle of the map, this mech bay, because this was going to be a Vulcan pull timing, this is how Mixu really has been playing this on this short map. Because the natural was delayed, well, all the army had to run back home, which means it was not defending the mech bay, which means now he is, and certainly the effigy is going to have to go down. But the Lancers are already very low, and Weavers are already on the map. This is a masterful display of really just, I'm not even gonna say multitasking necessarily, but masterful display of map presence, of really making it hard for Mixu to just play this very formulaic way he wants to play this build, and just not allowing him to execute the build that he wants to play. So this Vulcan will never arrive. And now Mixu, his natural, is now done. Certainly he has that going for himself, and he's gonna build another mech bay, and theoretically he's gonna get a Vulcan. Unfortunately, 2 Weavers are on the map. So that's also not going to be a thing. And we're looking at pure Lancer and not a lot of them versus this rather scary Weaver timing, hitting in 5 minutes with 2 Weavers and a bunch of Brutes. And let's be real here, because Snoxtar's not attacking. Snoxtar doesn't have to attack. He's done enough. He's taken the middle base. He has killed off the mech bay there. He is totally denied this timing coming out of Mixu at this point. Mixu's not going to be able to hit this mech bay timing anymore. It's not going to be a thing. So instead, Machine Lab's going to go down, or we're going to move on to tier 3, maybe a third base. But Mixu's game plan has been royally disrupted. Mixu's game plan is just not what it needs to be whatsoever. So now it's plan 2. And in the meantime, we of course, Twilight Spire, just about done. This can be an Elder. This can be Shadowcleft, adding in for a couple Spriggans. We can also just go God Drops and delay the timing even more. Meanwhile, Machine Lab is done. And Mix, I said he wasn't going to try this, but he is anyways. I am apparently delaying it 2 minutes, and he still thinks it's still viable. Or he just doesn't think there's another solution, which is always that's a reasonable idea. Unfortunately for him, I think he's kind of realized that, okay, wait a minute here. This is not going to work out. I can kill the Fiends, but I am not going to be able to go and get that base. I'm not going to be able to fight this army. We're looking at a couple Weavers. We're looking at a lot of Shroud to clear through. Maybe if he attacks kind of through this angle and dashes the trees down and maybe fights off Shroud a little bit more and has a quicker rally, maybe. But this God Drop also is going to go delay, deny, depose the third base. Going to get totally taken down. Absolutely gone. I mean, maybe well, you know what? Gaunts don't really do a lot of damage to structures. Majority of their damage is kind of really stuck behind that light tag. So I guess the third base will be allowed to stay alive. We do have a sentry post in the main. Not really anything inside of it, but it still does. Little known fact, by the way, the posts, all the defensive posts that do damage. I guess maybe not ambush post, but they all do roughly the same damage, right? A Buzzsaw turret does, I want to say, 20 damage. This Gauss cannon does 22. Flat cannon, I think, also does 22. They're differentiated in how the splash, the range, and the armor. Because a Gauss turret doesn't do as much, right? It doesn't have nearly as much range. It sounds less impressive, and it also doesn't do splash damage, of course. But what it does do is, we're teleporting back home. Yeah, we are. Okay, lack of particle effects for just a second, but we do teleport back home, so that gets out for the most part. And now Mixu, he has his Graven, he's got his Hedgehogs. Unfortunately for him now, there are 3 Magmadons on the field. And one thing that the top level Infernal players are doing, one thing that oh, great Magmadon drops, you love to see it, but the top level Infernal players are doing is they're getting these Magmadons because they do a great job of clearing Lancers and things like that, but they're not getting their upgrades. Where's this third Magmadon? I could have sworn I saw it. There we go. They're not getting Demon of Tremors, and they're not getting Raging Tendons, and this is a horrible position to try to fight into. Atlas on siege. Magmadon just dropped on top of the army, and that's not a scary thing to do because there is no anti-air. Atlas is going to go and just try to shoot and be the little beetle bug that it could be. But what a horrible position for Mixu to find himself in. I mean, he wants to fight front to back, and his army just gets totally surrounded, totally trapped in a bad spot. Atlas isn't sieged up. There's no med or there's no evac to go and give you any of that. In fact, the hangar bay is not even done yet, and Mixu's dead in this game. His early game aggression was totally foiled. The mid game, not allowed to get anything done, and well, the supply was good. Maybe he takes the fight. Unfortunately, he was just in a really bad spot to take that fight, and now that means that the Snoxtar takes the 2-0 lead. And now it's on Isle of Dread. It's a bit bigger of a map. Certainly about not even just a bit bigger. It is probably one of the biggest maps in the pool, and also a little bit controversial. At least at the pro level, you hear, Auriel's going to point to this and say, Isle of Dread more maps were played on Isle of Dread than like any other map. 14 games total on the Auriel Stormgate Invitational were played on Isle of Dread. Next closest was Secluded Grove with 9, you know, and then it's 9-8, 7, 7, 7, 7. Like, more maps were played on Isle of Dread than any other map, and Auriel takes the opportunity to say, hey, look, that means that this is the most popular map, which technically, sure, of course, there is the mitigating factor where you look at these and you're like, well, yes, but. And the but is that players are going to pick and ban veto maps that they think give them the best opportunity to win the game. Not that it's their favorite map that they most enjoy playing, but the best opportunity for them to win the game. Now, that doesn't mean that it's a fun map or a not fun map, but you know, it is worth considering. And Isle of Dread does have some of the hallmarks of what I think is necessary, is right, these kind of centralizing positions. But even still, while this is a central position, this great big X in the middle, because of how the camps are situated, it's not really easy to go fight over. And it's just much easier for, you know, the Infernal player to go and take this health camp and the Vanguard player to take this health camp, and you know, just to try to split it, because there are duplicate resources. And again, fighting over this in the early game is not easy and generally really not worth it. So for now, command post first coming out of Mixu, which also means that he's likely, actually, I mean, this was a vault. This was a Vault Shrine expand, so you do have a little bit less. And I was gonna say, you know what, that means that most likely the health camp, Mixu's health camp, is gonna go get taken by Snoxtar. But because this is a Vault expand, that means that these 4 trees have to get, or really, yeah, 4 trees have to get cut down to let the brutes inside, which means that he actually cannot get on top of this. Brutes are too fat. Supposedly, apparently, their bodies are just a wee bit too wide. They're a little bit too fat to get through all the trees. In other words, the very flora of Earth post Infernal invasion is working against the Infernals to make sure things are okay. Don't know how that works in the lore, but apparently that is true. All right, the trees actively grow closer together, so the brutes cannot run through. Sure. You know, I'll take that one. But again, that does mean that this is going to be trades of creep camps instead of the Infernal player doing what an Infernal player often does, which is really take the round 1 camps. And, you know, that matters less. We have gotten rid of how oppressive it was to go and, like, you could never go expand first on any map at 0.0, like on the early access launch, because it was just, the money was too strong. Now, that being said, Fiends are going to try to run in now that were spawned from everything else, the brutes as well, I guess, and see what they can find. They're not going to get a lot here. We got double Gaunt, or we have double Lancers. They're going to get a couple of these speed creeps. Actually, they're going to get more than that. Oh, well, they're going to get a couple speed creeps, sure, but the brutes are going to arrive. We got Hexed here, and they're going to force things back just for a little bit. Now, this is Lancer Hog, certainly. So eventually this army does not fight. Hogs slap the brutes. The Lancers do a great job against the Fiends. So eventually this is going to get handled rather easily. There's Machine Lab going down. So, I mean, we are getting solidly into this mid game, certainly, and likely Transonic Rockets. Maybe get a Vulcan out eventually, but Transonic Rockets likely to be the play. And what this has done, yes, it got a couple Mastiffs, but more importantly, this does unlock the 2 big demons, the 2 shadow demons here on this vision camp, which is just a little bit of efficiency for Snoxtar in the mid game. Is, of course, his greater shrine is done. He's starting to slowly imp up these 2 mines. It's funny because you're like, yes, double mine. It does require 24 workers to fully saturate. It does require 20 to kind of mine efficiently, and that takes a while. You know, it does mean that, yes, you get the efficiency of only 1 shrine, but you're also only have 1 shrine to build imps out of. So it's not this massive efficiency game that you might otherwise expect it to be. It's still good, certainly. But it's good in Luminite cost, but not actually good in terms of really accelerating your income, all things considered, which is kind of weird because we're used to looking at kind of rich bases as being good at not only minimizing your cost, because like a gold base, you know, a 6 worker patch gold base, or a 6 patch gold base, a 12 worker gold base in StarCraft 2 is worth a 16 worker base in StarCraft 2. It's really we're roughly, you mine roughly the minerals per second as an 8 patch base. So that is kind of cool, right? That accelerate, it means you need less workers, but also you mine the same, so it accelerates you. In this case, not quite true, as we're gonna see, well, couple fiends, couple gaunts, they're gonna show up. This drop play coming in once again, but between the hedgehogs and the mass repair and everything else, and transonic rockets being done, the range is still nutty. And this drop is not really gonna accomplish quite a bit. Third base now done, right? Bombs are gonna be made out of those 3 at a time as soon as they get done building, but I guess you're distracted by the drop for the time being. Oh no, you're not. The drop is dead. And that is a big deal compared to game 1, game 2. The drops just did such a nice job of keeping Mixu pinned back at home. And in this game, all of a sudden, Mixu is allowed to be on the map. And also remember, Harbingers are very Therium expensive. And also Snoxtar went and he took the natural that does not have any Therium. His third base does, and certainly he's mining out as much as he can from that. 6 workers on the Therium patch. He's going to go and take the energy tower, which also gives him a little bit more Therium in the burst. All of these things together are great, certainly, but that was 200 Therium down the drain that now is probably, it feels like it's going to get punished pretty hard. Hedgehog run by is going to find a lot. Yeah, a bunch of weavers are going to teleport over, but you just run away. You don't let him. Well, actually, wait a minute. This looks juicy here. Maybe you don't run away. It's only a single weaver, and we're just going to see, well, okay, they're not going to go anti-air mode. That's going to be a second Harbinger going down. Again, only a single weaver means that this is totally a fight that you take. You plug the gap. You do what you can. These hedgehogs are very happy with the situation. And yeah, sure, maybe another one gets lashed, but they got the Harbinger. They got a lot of these fiends. They got a lot of imps going down. This is very much a... this is just a great fight for Mixu, all things considered. Game's not over, certainly not, and certainly the Nightfall is going to go and kill off this. Not going to kill the Lancer. Okay. I really thought the Lancer was dead. Even still, this just continuous kiting back. The hedgehogs are just not dying at the same level the gaunts are. And as we look at this, there's another God, adding these Harbingers in, and they're just going to get targeted down once again. Well, yep, they're going to go down anyways. Sure, it gives you some shroud, which is rather nice. It does mean that, you know, maybe you can drop, well, I thought that was a full HP effigy. No, I was going to say, yeah, it lets you drop a 100 HP effigy, but that's not really true. And now it just continues to kite back. Weavers are eventually going to get, is going to eventually survive, right? Eating some fiends is nice, but this has been really a great move coming out of Snoxtar, or out of Mixu. That was 3 Harbingers dead. But once was a Harbinger, is now a Doom, was then a Doombringer, is now back to a Harbinger, which is just a better name. I'm so happy. I know they said, yes, Doombringer. It's gonna be our thing. I don't know. But Harbinger, I don't know. I like being able to talk about it. Dooms are one thing. Harbs, it's a 3 Harb opening. I like that. I don't know. Anyway, Harbinger's gonna arrive once again, but now high command is done. No Graven on the way just yet, and the bombs are, a couple of them looks like they may go down. Certainly we do have, well, a couple. Singular hedgehog has popped out. Graven now gonna get made, and the army of Mixu does have to retreat on home. These hedgehogs are not going to do all that well, but they're going to do well enough. And certainly, while this is delayed mining, it's actually not going to really be that much of an issue, all things considered. It really didn't kill all that much. With this Harbinger, I gotta say, okay, there we go. I was gonna say, I'm a little surprised that Mixu's not keeping things at home, but he is gonna keep things at home. He's got his army. It now has to be a little bit smaller on the map. That is certainly true. Because this drop is really annoying, and that does technically mean his army on the map is not as good, but he's up about 50 supply. He has done such a good job this game of just, the pressure early got a lot done. He shut down the drop. That did really quite a bit. And now, well, things are going to have to run away as well as they can. As by the way, the upgrade is, I forget what it's called, but the shroud range upgrade is now done. which is a powerful tool, but he's going to take a fight in the middle. This one's not going to be a good fight. This one you got to run away from. Certainly not. We're going to see sticky bombs are going to go down, but it's not a good sticky bomb. This army does have to retreat. Looks like this drop in the main base is, yeah, okay. The drop is going to get handled once again. And remember, there is this healing turret regenerating 4 HP per second in the vicinity. It's not 8, right? It's not the out of combat healing, but it still provides a reasonable situation even still. Snoxtar is taking as good a fight as he possibly can. He's going to wipe this position out. We're going to see the med tech go down. The repair-o-matic's going to fall. And this is really all down to the fact that Mixu's army was not where it needed to be. A lot of his army, probably too much of his army, was sitting defensively at home. Now, his army's together though, and oh god, the sticky bombs really hurt. They hurt quite a bit. And the splits were just not good from Snoxtar, all things considered. Now Blink's on top, and now Snoxtar, I think he might, well, I was gonna say I think he might just be dead. I know he is overcommitted. He lost so much. And now this attack coming in, I'm not really sure what it is that Snoxtar is supposed to do. He's down about 70 supply. He's got 3 Reavers teleporting in. Spriggans, I mean, these Spriggan transitions, they've proven to be good on occasion. Unfortunately, that was before the Graven were out en masse. Graven do 25 damage. Plus veterancy, 25 damage versus light units. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, what is this? 8 Graven, so that is 200 damage a volley. You 2.5 tap the Weavers, you 1 tap these Spriggans, give or take. Yeah, you actually do 1 tap the Spriggans, all things considered. Now sticky bombs are going to go down. Those are not good. Sticky, oh, he's going to be able to dodge out in time. Very nice. So this is going to be fine. The Weavers, as they arrive, they're just getting annihilated by all the Graven, and yeah, sticky bombs are annoying, but Snoxtar, he's down 130 supply. The Graven were obnoxious. The Spriggans are here, the Hedgehogs are here as well. And they do a great job of dealing with the Shroud Stones. They can shut down these heavy structures, right? Hedgehogs bonus damage versus heavy. The Shroud Stones are heavy. In fact, well, the sticky bomb's just going to get stacked and blow everything up anyway. So that's all going to go down. The stag defense is gone. The Graven are here, and yeah, Snoxtar's dead. Long and short of it, he will get taken out in this game 3, and this is more like it for Mixu. He's able to play the game he wants to play. He deals with the drop, scales up, and that means that Snoxtar, he bleeds. Mixu takes him out. Ooh, buddy, smallest map time as we're gonna turn that off. That's fine. Smallest map time as we get into game number 3, and man, the scale of this map gets me sometimes. I'm like, quick expand, because this on the scale of this mini map, this looks like the square on the mini map for the vault really does kind of look like the size of a base on a lot of other maps. I mean, that is just how small Broken Crown is. Unfortunately, it's not the case. Well, I don't know. Unfortunately for my lying eyes, I guess. Unfortunately, that is not the case. But this makes a lot more sense. I was gonna say, wow, Snoxtar really putting his life in his hands here by like, yeah, I'm gonna go expand quickly on Broken Crown Light. I mean, that's just not a thing. You do not want to do that. As it stands, it's gonna be vault opening coming down, and Broken Crown Light, it's interesting. I think it's a worthwhile experiment. I don't know that it is a good map. I think it just unlocks maybe a little bit the aggression. We saw some very cool games when players weren't totally sure how to play on it in the Artosis show matches, but this really does feel like something where it's just going to turn in, especially in this matchup, like this is just begging for like double racked Lancer timings, something like that. Maybe even single racks. You're like, I am going to go and I'm going to be as aggressive as I possibly can. For now though, we're going to see double Lancer. They're going to go and try to cut down the speed camps. Speed camps on the north side. They're going to go get taken by Mixu as, well, you know, with this having 13 damage, right? It's not quite as much as the Brute, but it is a little bit easier to potentially go in and snipe one of these camps with a scout, certainly with a couple. But for now, Lancers continue to get rallied in, and this game is gonna get really weird. Because now we have the speed camp on the north side getting taken by Snoxtar, speed camp on the south side taken by Mixu. Both players have their opponent's speed camps just getting taken. And okay, well, I said 2 racks. I should have known. This is Mixu. He loves his 1-1 play, his racks mech bay play, where you go and you hogs and lancers. You go fast, you go zoom. And double passive, actually, on the speed camps. Actually, you know, it's not as strong as... No, actually, no, that wasn't nerfed. It was only the active nerfed. Anyways, Lancers with double passive speed are really solid. Hedgehogs with double passive speed are rather good. So let's see exactly what it is that Mixu is going to be able to find with this. The trees are not going to get taken down. And I don't see a Bob with this army. Now I guess you try to attack at the front. You got, what is this? 4 Lancers, 1 Hog. Second, not being added just yet, but you can go and wait. Is he? Oh, is he doing the? Oh, okay, he is kind of cool. He's doing the low ground turret, which now this is maybe being a little overly safe. When I've seen Mixu do some very cool things, he has really gone and put the turrets on the high ground and really gotten aggressive with this. But this low ground turret is very hard for Snoxtar to really get on top of. So it provides a rather interesting fallback point where this can be a repair-matic eventually. You can go and put a buzzsaw here if you need to. There are options, and it really is just difficult for the Weavers to go, or really anything to get on top of this. So for now, Hedgehog up onto the high ground. It will get bubbled. It's still going to go down, but no, very nice. That's going to be the dead Hexen, and this Hedgehog is still here. In fact, this is starting to look a little bit scary. Hedgehog is going to be able to get out at the end. The last of the lashes has been dealt with, so finally one of these hogs dies. And it did look scary for a second, but maybe not scary enough. And, well, didn't know you could do that. Apparently, you can go from high ground to low ground into these turrets. That is very cool. So, we do have the repair-matic, right? Keeping these Hedgehogs alive. Medtech, repair area, that's going to be rather, or the healing zone is going to be pretty nice. 4 HP per second again. It would be 8 if he was out of combat, but even still, this is a healing camp, effectively, that you have access to. And you just continue to kite backwards, take advantage of the healing zones, but realistically, with three of these Weavers, it's not the easiest thing. It really isn't. So now the speed camp is going to get taken over by the Infernal player. He has this high ground. And just with this high ground vision, Weavers have relatively good vision. With this high ground position, you go lash, you go abduct, and it's not easy. So the med station now taking some damage here will eventually get taken down, but looks like for now, as more units arrive, as the Bobs have been pulled, they have been overcharged, Weavers are going to get forced back home. So the medtech does what it was supposed to do, provides this salient point, and I mean, as I say that, the Weavers teleported back home, but that was just to bring more of their numbers in. Now we're looking at 4 Weavers versus 4 Hedgehogs. And, I mean, sure, the Brutes die, but I don't think these Weavers are going to die anytime soon. The army supply is not what it needs to be. Or the army value, the number of units is not really what it needs to be. And, you know, supply is one thing. Mixu's up 5. That is, sure. But now, well, we got 4 Weavers and a Hellborn, and the quality of the, not even the quantity, the quality of this army from Snoxtar is not something that Mixu can easily address. So now we're just going to see a bunch of whatever we can find lashed onto the high ground. Now, importantly, there are only 2 lashes. Actually, yeah, only 2 lashes are really here. One of them is going to get dashed down, and sure, it is percentage damage. This is very true, but we do have the repair-matic in the turret. And another Weaver's gonna have to arrive. Bubble's gonna show up. It's gonna go and stun this Vulcan for quite a while. But with the mass Bob repair and the Bubble and the repair-matic, the Vulcan has a very good opportunity just to stand strong and not go down. Certainly, we got the Hedgehog, or excuse me, the Hellborn on the backside getting damage done here. But Okay, eventually, I did not think that Vulcan was going to go down. Eventually, the Vulcan dies, and with the Vulcan dead, not a lot of power in this attack anymore. This 50 damage, 90 to structures, but importantly, this 50 damage just splashing off the top over and over again off this singular Hellborn is just doing so much consistent damage that it's just not something that Mixu can really handle at the moment, unfortunately for him. So at the end of the day, Mixu's attack has been broken. All the Bobs are mass repairing, but Mixu is going to fall down once again. And Snoxtar, now, not only is he on game point, not only is he on match point, he's on tournament point. He wins this next one. He takes the entire thing. Now it's Secluded Grove for perhaps the last map in this series. Snoxtar is up 3 games to 1. Which means, of course, that if you like this and you want more Stormgate stuff showing up as much as I can, the holidays, they do make it hard. I try to put 5 videos up a week. Sometimes I'm not successful, but we try, right? We do our best. And if you want that and you want to make sure you catch me as live as well, make sure to go pop the YouTube, go subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Twitch, and it does help out quite a bit on both fronts. I'll see you there when I'm live next, or, you know, on VOD content on YouTube. Both of them, they absolutely work, as we're taking a look at the thing that Mixu's been doing kind of every game. You pull Bobs and Scouts to go get the health camp. Let's just say every game where it exists as a possibility. Not every map has a health camp. Not every map has a speed camp, right? That we do have some heterogeneity in map design, which I think is good. And I'm sorry, actually, wait, what am I saying? Every camp has a health camp, not every camp has a speed camp. There we go. I'm like, yeah, Boneyard doesn't have a speed camp. I'm like, wait a minute, Boneyard has a health camp. What am I saying? We're good. Now, we're also going to, of course, see the Bobs. They're going to go cut these trees down. Sentry post up. Go add in a buzzsaw turret eventually and take down both the Therium and the Luminite camp. Which is, again, this very cool idea that we see more and more Vanguard players. Certainly Mixu has adopted it. Mana has adopted it. We see more and more things happening. It's very cool. So for now, what do we got out of Snoxtar? It's going to be a Brood expand, a Vault expand in this game number 5. Nice job there. I think he got... Ooh. If you time this right, that is a 30... What is this? That's a 40 damage nuke. If you time it right with the units that he had, I think he got the Shadow Demon. Now, of course, he's not going to go and do much more with it because, well, he does have to go take his own camps, and he's not going to contest the second Shadow Demon, but getting that Shadow Demon is 60 Luminite early. It's a 120 Luminite swing if that's the case. Like, that is a non-insignificant amount of money in... Well, is it... I think it's still 60. That's a non-insignificant amount of money in the early game, all things considered. So he's going to go. He's going to have his Lancers, his Scouts. I mean, this is what we were talking about. And meanwhile, Fiends on the other side are just going to find these Bobs as they are producing things. A Lancer's on the way, but it is not anywhere close to being done. But luckily, there's an overcharge available. Mass repair is a thing. These Fiends are not really going to be able to do all that much. Well, they might be able to go cancel the command center. It's dead. Command post was killed. That is not a cancel. Look at the money here. He does not have enough to build another immediately. That was a kill. That was not a cancel. Mixu very much making a mistake right there. And that is a big deal here. Remember, he's on the loser side of a tournament point. He loses this, he's out of the tournament. And his command post going down, 2 more Bobs going down. Oh, it's a disaster. Unmitigated disaster in this game number 5. There, I would love to say that, you know, he's got something going for him out of this, but there really is not. There is not a lot that he can be happy about. Now, maybe you can go and say, great, there's something else, right? We can do that. But, yeah, sorry about that. But no. Even though he did get Therium and Luminite camps, and he can go Central Command now because he has that. It's halfway done anyways. Losing that command post, losing a couple Bobs on top of it, even if his supply is quoting, I'm very much air quoting here. If it is good, the economy's, it's been significantly hampered. So Mixu, he's going to go and try to greed out of this. He's like, okay, well, you know what? Timings are not going to work. Let's go take a third base. It's 4:45. That's not a bad third base timing. I can still go. I still got the Luminite camp. I'm still getting money there. Maybe I can macro my way out of this. And certainly we can see the power of Lancer doing, what is it? 20? Yeah, 20 damage versus structures. Got 8 damage from the scouts. I mean, they kill off the habitat, or not the habitat. They kill off the meat farm, you know, reasonably quickly. And certainly with this pressure on the map, up until the point where Weavers are out, we do have that greater shrine. I don't know that there are any Weavers yet. Yeah, no, there's actually nothing. Just going for this drop as quickly as possible, going for Plague Axes, which I assume are done. Yeah, Plague Axes are done. I was going to say, you know, until Weavers are out, this is a Snoxtar that has to play on 2 bases. You know, the Lancer pressure, the Hog Lancer pressure is maybe a little bit too scary otherwise. And unfortunately here for our hero in red, he's not going to see the drop. Yes, he's going to be able to go play in the speed camp. He's going to be able to delay the third base. Those are great things. It kills an imp as well. But his army is 100% on the other side of the map. He never bothered to get the speed or the vision camp, which means he does not know that this drop is inbound, which means he has no static defense in the main base. There's no production in the main base either. Everything is in the natural. Yes, there's a hangar bay on the way, but this drop is just going to be a problem. We do have energy. There is enough energy. There is enough energy for overcharge. Wait, is that 50? Am I crazy? Nah, yeah, I was going to say, I don't. Well, maybe. Anyways, yes, he can mass repair. I think that is true. And he can go in and play defensively as possible. But as it stands, that's not great. Luckily for him, it's only mining time. I don't think he really... I think he lost like 1 Bob. I think we saw 1 Fiend converted. Not the end of the world. And Transonic rockets are going to be done soon. The solar habitat is juicing the hell out of this thing. So we're going to get that insane anti-air range. There's a repair-matic as well. So the first round of this drop was annoying, but not the end of the world. And now, okay, yeah, it's just going to teleport right back home. So if you're Mixu and you're looking at this game, there are a couple things that you're rather happy about. You have your, well, I was going to say, turning to high command right now. You're on 3 bases. You got your habitat. Is anything being built out of that? No, but you do have your habitat. You've got your 3 bases. You're going to be able to get into Graven rather soon. And it takes a second for the hab. And I'm a little surprised the solar habitat's not clicked on the central command. I think getting up to high command as quickly as possible is probably worth doing, but you know, probably just a wee bit of just a little bit of oversight right now as well. Ooh, very cool. We got a Sentinel on the way. These are, I think these are criminally underused units. I think they are, they are very good against these higher tech and infernal armies that we sometimes see, right? Where it's, which unfortunately does not matter here. Yes, they're great against gaunts once you get to the nano swarm shield or the nano shield, but unfortunately that's not what we're looking at. But they are very good against like Hellborn Weaver armies, Hellborn Weaver Magbodon armies. Because what they do is they just shut down all the tech. They're like, they just sent, or they what do they nano? They stasis drone them. There we go. That's what it's called. And they just lock them down. They're not able to fight. So that is true. Unfortunately, this army is just a lot of small stuff, and in that application, Sentinels are not really all that good. But there's a full surround here, and there are a reasonable amount of hedgehogs. So Bobs will go down. That is unfortunate, but this is also a lot of army getting taken down here. While the Magbodons, where is our stasis trap? Our stasis drone doesn't really work out. In fact, all the Bobs are going to go down. Mixu, I was going to say, you know, this looks fairly good, but the reinforcements and the Hellborn that I quite honestly lost track of, didn't see it. Yeah, that is much more of a problem. Really much more of a problem. So as we take a look at this, I mean, sure, hedgehogs, technically they do bonus damage to the Magbodons, and that is always going to be rather nice. But as Shadow Flyers into the fray, we're going to have less ability, less capability from these Sentinels. We have the army's just not good. Again, it's one of those situations where the supply is one thing, but Mixu is not properly where he'd like to be just yet. I mean, he's getting Graven now, but they're not properly there. Third base is dead. A lot of the imps are dead, or a lot of the bobs are dead. And yeah, sure, there's the stasis, but the cool thing about stasis, if you're an Infernal player, is you can just do damage to it. You can just, there we go, take it down, and suddenly the Harbinger is able to fire forward once again, slams on top, and again, now the Stompy robots go in, and because this is Magmadon drops, we do have that upgrade. We do have Demon Hoof Tremors. It does mean that it's just a little bit harder for the Vanguard player to run away. And yeah, sure, slow zone sticky bombs are annoying. Stasis trap is actually going to cause some problems here. And with the repair and everything, else, it seems like this is not going to go. This position may not die. Just continuous stasis runs. But that doesn't really matter because all the bobs on the Therian patch are going down. Most of the bobs are dying anyways. And this rally is just, it's a problem. Yeah, Mixu, he's just going to be forced to tap out. There is too much from Snoxtar. And that means that Snoxtar is your champion of the Auriel Stormgate Invitational #1 and the lion's share of the $700+ prize pool. At the end of the day, it's Snoxtar 4, Mixu 1.